school, their fancy uniforms. And remember what got you. Focus on the fundamentals. We've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. You put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential to be the best that you can be. I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game. In my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
The New Hampshire High School Hoop Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
Right now, it's not about talent. It's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before. They're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
And now, here are your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those two foul shots at the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a soup question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
Good morning to you, and welcome to another edition of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. Each and every Saturday morning, 7 to 9 a.m., two fine radio stations here in New Hampshire, WGIR AM 610, around Manchester, Nashua, Concord, on the Seacoast, 96.7 The Wave, a crystal clear FM signal for you. I'm Pete Terrier, along with my co-host, Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com. David, good morning to you.
Good morning. It's a beautiful morning out there.
Yeah, a little rain falling. At least it's not freezing rain.
No.
I don't mind snow so much this time of year, especially when you got football playoffs.
I'll take snow. I'll take snow over rain any day of the week, man.
Well, except in the spring and the summertime. Then I want rain.
Thank you for clarifying, yes.
Exactly. Great show lined up for you over the next couple of hours. A couple of tremendous guests. We're going out to Conant next hour. Talk to the head coach of Eric Saucier, the Orioles continuing to roll in Division III. Would love to see them play some games against some D2, D1 competition just to see how they would fare. I know they do it in the holiday tournaments out in Keene, but would just love to see how they would fare in a real game against that type of competition. Nothing against the Division III, but fact is, I'd like to see them take on a Trinity or a Nashua South or a Manchester Central.
I think they do well.
I think so, too. So we'll talk to Coach Saucier from Concord, Conant, I should say. Maybe from Concord, because doesn't he live in Concord?
Yeah, he'll be live from Concord. I think he's got practice at 2:30. So
we'll talk to him 8:25 this morning. Dave Keefe, head coach of the Trinity Pioneers, will join us at 7:25 this morning, so just a few minutes from now. We do the show live on the radio. Also, on the internet, not live. We'll post this up there on the website, nhsportspage.com. Tomorrow, John Kesty, our videographer, in the house filming. And this new camera, it takes bigger, better, clearer close-up shots.
At 7 o'clock in the morning. It's just what I was looking for.
And you were at a tremendous game last night, as
was
I.
Surprisingly tremendous game, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not so surprised that it was a good game.
Last night. Yeah.
You were out at Hampton for the Winnicott-Bedford game. I was in Manchester for Trinity Spalding, so we'll talk about both of those games at length. Both of them went down to the wire. All kinds of other action around the state last night. Let's get to the Friday night scoreboard, brought to you by New Hampshire Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement and the Buyers Beware program, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors. Yes, even if your team loses on a controversial three-pointer at the buzzer. And you'll understand what I'm talking about when Dave gets to his scoreboard right now.
Is that because I was out with the Winnicott coaching staff after the game?
I don't
They're
know.
all of age, well of age. We'll start with Manchester Memorial with an overtime. This is one of the game of the nights. An overtime victory over BG on the road, 64-61. BG came back in that game, forced overtime, but Manchester Memorial pulls out your boy, Tong Acott, 26 points. You love that guy.
He's
had a
good.
Big game last night. Merrimack with a 65-40 win over Concord. Eric Gendron and Shane Burke had big games in that one. Jumping around to Division I scores. Manchester Central taking care of business with a 73-48 win over Londonderry. Exeter with their second consecutive win. They did get that bounce from the Christmas tournament. They've now won 2 in a row, Jeff Holmes' team. So good job there. They came back and beat Pinkerton and played very well in the second half, 50-40. I can't figure out what's wrong with Pinkerton, but maybe we'll figure that out in the next 2 hours. Salem gets their first win of the year, 64-54 over Keene. That was a battle of two teams that hadn't won a game yet. The game that you were at, Trinity pulls out a 56-54 win over Spalding. Looking forward to hearing about that one. Justin McIsaac, a friend of mine, came out with me last night. He had a lot to say about the officiating. It is
and I don't blame him.
It is good to note he is a Spalding grad.
Right.
Bedford with a 55-53 win over Winnicott. Taylor Grande, point guard for Bedford, hit a buzzer-beating, some would say...
Or was it?
after the buzzer, 25-footer for the win. We're going to talk about that one. And Nashua South, these are wrapping up the D1 scores. Nashua South 75-37 over Timberlane, and they're on New Hampshire Sports page this morning because your co-host got up at 5:20 in the morning. All box scores for Division I games are on the site. So let's bounce around now just real quickly. Derryfield over Concord Christian 60-42. Conant 65-29, and looking forward to having Eric on the show in a little bit. Upset of the night, Farmington 70, undefeated Campbell 65. That was a surprise. Plymouth had to go to double overtime to beat Kennett 76-69. That's a Kennett team that just lost to Berlin by 20 points. I'm not sure what happened there. Lebanon is the second best team in Pembroke. I'm stating it today. 60-37 over Bishop Brady. They're rolling. Littleton got a nice win over Colebrook. They're undefeated still, 71-62. Lisbon 54, Moulton Borough 46. Newmarket continues to be undefeated with a 64-47 win over Sunapee. Hollis Brookline keeps rolling, 54-38 over Milford. Pelham gets a nice win, 25 points from Jake Vac Norris and 16 from my boy Keith Brown. Pelham with a 65-47 win over Goffstown. And Portsmouth, defending champion Portsmouth, with a 57-41 win over St. Thomas. One more score, Souhegan 68-42 over Conval.
Yeah, that one score that you mentioned, the Pelham-Goffstown, I have not seen Pelham this year. I've seen Goffstown a couple of times. But, I mean, that was a pretty wide margin of victory, so I was a little bit surprised about that one.
Yeah, and Jake Mount had 5 points.
Yeah.
And they, Pelham is... Matt Regan, coach for Pelham, and I were emailing, and he was just saying that they're cleaning it up game by game. They were turning the ball over a ton their first 2 games. They had a very difficult... They lost to... I think it was less to Hollis Brookline and Pembroke in their first 2. I can't remember. Maybe it was. I'll have to look it up. But they had a really tough early season schedule. But they're starting to play very well over there. And Keith Brown, who's a freshman, of course, is playing very well. Yeah, they lost to Pembroke and Hollis Brookline in their first 2 games, and then beat Lebanon. So Pelham's playing well.
There was a lot of good games last night, and we will talk about them at length. Some will, kind of focus on, especially the games that we were at last night. You win a kind of Bedford, good game to be at. My game, Trinity against Spalding, another tremendous game. Another tremendous game that I want to talk about that neither one of us was at, but I kind of wish I was. One of those can't be in 2 places at one time situations. Memorial down at the Cliggadome in Nashua against Bishop Girton goes to overtime. The Crusaders win it 64-61. Memorial blows a big lead in the fourth quarter. BG sends it to overtime. ACOT battling it out against Jeff Lund.
26. Lund had 16.
Yeah, and I really like Jeff Lund. I guess Boykin got hurt. According to Gary Fitz in the National Telegraph, he got a separated shoulder. Now, that's part of the reason we know that he had a shoulder injury in football season.
He's always
and that
hurt.
was the
Feel
word that was keeping him out of the action for, I think, the first 6 or 7 games of the regular season for BG football. And a lot of us said, okay, it's a little bit more than a shoulder. It might be some disciplinary action or whatever. But he came back, he played football, and was ready for basketball, and then he hurt his shoulder, and he was out, I guess, in the first half and didn't play the rest of the game. So that obviously cut down on BG.
Really? He had 13 then. He had 13 points the first half.
Oh, well, I only saw that he had 4 points in the box score. And I think it was on your site. I'm talking about.
Oh, he did have 4. You're right.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm thinking of Kyle Gavin. I
Okay.
apologize.
So we'll have to see. I got to go see BG. I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
That's probably the top team in the league that I haven't seen now that I put Spalding in front of my eyes in person last night.
They're just starting to play. The tougher part of their schedule. They kind of eased into it a little bit.
You talking about Girton?
Yeah, BG. I mean, they've played Keene, Londonderry, Exeter. Who's playing better now? But upcoming games, they've got Winnicott, Trinity, Merrimack, and South, and Pinkerton all coming up. So they've their schedule's going to get a little bit tougher. There's one more score I forgot to add. Pembroke beat Wyndham 86-55, and the train keeps a rolling. Patrick Welch with 33.
Yeah, when I saw that score, I immediately clicked on the box score on nhsportspage.com and said, how many, and my question was, how many did Welch have?
Yeah.
33.
33. So he is at, I believe, you know what? By the power of the internet, I can click on it right now. He is at 29.3 for the season scoring average.
And that doesn't include the holiday tournament games.
No.
But they do count in his overall stats.
To the 1,000. It doesn't count as stats for scoring leaders or season stats, but I had this conversation years ago. I don't know why those games count towards 1,000-point scores, but they do.
And
you know
playoff
what?
games, too. Tournament games,
Tournament
too, as
games
well.
definitely count. Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the three-pointer that was or wasn't. Was it, in your opinion? I'm talking Winnicott. I'm talking Bedford. Taylor Grandy. Set the scene for us.
All right. First of all, I sat behind Bedford's bench on purpose. I wanted to listen to Fitzy, coach. It was good to catch up with him. He was funny. I said, "You got to come on the show." He goes, "If you need me, yeah, but otherwise not."
Yeah, he doesn't really like it.
He likes us. He's not a big radio guy. He's tremendous, though, and as is Jay McKenna. And so it was fun kind of watching both of those guys. So basically, to set the scene, Winnicott was leading late. There was a weird play where Richard Ruffin was at the line. They were up 1. And a kid for Winnicott came into the box for the foul shot late, so it should have been a violation. So Fitzy started yelling to the official, like, hey, that's a violation. Ruffin was confused and almost threw an air ball and missed the foul shot. So there was a lot of confusion. He then hit the next one, went back and forth. James Caparell played great. He had some big buckets down the end. The last play was that if they got the rebound, Bedford was going to come down. Fitzy called timeout. He wanted to go, bring the ball down, and go into Sam Thomas, their 6'8" big guy, lob it into him, and try to get a basket or get him fouled. They were down 1 at the time. What happened is the rebound came off on the foul shot, and when you're a guard, you want to start up the floor and have the outlet man throw it to you so you're in stride. But what happened is Taylor Grandy came back and kind of caught it and pivoted. Okay, well, now it's a whole second, and there was only 8 seconds left. So he rushed up the floor, kind of dribbled around. The whole get it to Sam Thomas down low, that was thrown, as are most end-of-game situations.
The best laid plans never seem to work
It was
out.
thrown out. But I got to say, Fitzy did a great job of kind of organizing them and calmly telling them where they need to be at the end. So he came up the floor. This is what I saw, because I was standing right at half court behind Mike Fitzpatrick. You heard the buzzer. He was about to shoot. You heard the buzzer. As soon as he heard the buzzer, he shot it. The official, I heard from not a coach, just somebody who was there. One of the officials, it was his first varsity game. This is what I heard. And this was an official that was getting it all night from Jay and then getting it from Fitzy. It was like a ping pong. He was going back and forth getting it from these guys.
They were
all night.
working him.
They were working him. And so when he put his hands up as to signal no good, but he was in the midst of all the Bedford kids, and they were all celebrating and staring at him with their hands up. And he kind of paused,
Under pressure,
looked at them, and threw his hands up.
Oh, man.
And I went, oh, no. And Mike Fitzpatrick did not react like he thought it was late, too. You could tell. That's. I mean, I'm not, I don't want to speak for him, but he didn't. Well, Fitzy's not a guy who's going to run out on the floor pumping his fist anyway. But you could tell that he was like, and Jay McKenna was frozen like the Lincoln Memorial statue, like never moved, and just stared at the ref like, you're kidding me?
You called that a good shot.
It wasn't ridiculously late, but it was late. And
had they gone to the instant replay review like they do in the NBA?
All right, now here's where I got to be careful here. How do I say this? Maybe I might have hypothetically talked to coaches who watched it on film and said it was in his hand when the buzzer went off. But there is no instant replay. And you know what? And Jay's such a good coach that he sits there and goes, we did a million different things where it shouldn't have come down to that.
You know
It's
he's
a
going to say
teaching-
something like
sure,
that.
And he doesn't kill them. They're 3-2. Big win for Bedford. And listen, was it late? I think it was late. The kid still hit the shot. I mean, give him all the credit in the world. Bedford made plays at the end to get back in that game. So when you put it in the hand of the official, it's crapshoot at that point. So give Bedford a lot of credit. I'll tell you, I was impressed with them. They're getting better. And Cameron Meservey,
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce it.
That kid can shoot, man.
Yeah.
He's got a stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him
18.
play. I saw him play last year.
He plays
a
defense.
few times.
He plays defense like me and shoots like me. Let's put it that way.
He's a pretty good player. I
He's a
saw
shooter.
He had a big game in the quarterfinal upset, Bedford over Sauhegan.
Yeah.
I call it a quarterfinal upset because Sauhegan was the home team in that game last year, and he had a big game. Sauhegan was without a couple of guys
Right.
For that particular game, but he stepped up and showed me something in that game, so I knew he was a pretty good player. Good breakdown by you, by the way. Yeah, I'm not saying that we need instant replay in New Hampshire high school basketball, but I'm sure somebody's got some kind of video. I was at the Trinity Spalding game last night, and there was a kid in front of me taking like video shots of the game.
Yeah.
So I got to imagine somebody that was at that game last night. I assume there was a good crowd.
Oh yeah, it was a pretty good crowd.
Somebody's got a video of that last shot.
Well, the coaching staffs do, but they're not going to show you.
Right, but I'm saying like some fan who was at the game last night's got some kind of amateur video.
Well,
and that's going up on some website.
I tweeted right after the game, and it was funny. All the Winnicott kids were retweeting when I said what I ended one of my tweets with. Was it late? Or was it after the buzzer? And then my last tweet was, I think it was. And a lot of them favored it, and Ben Giro and those guys. But they handled it well. And, of course, all the Bedford kids were favored in the other tweets. But it's funny. Those kids are tweeting within 2 minutes after the game.
I know.
I was in my car to leave,
Yeah.
and Taylor Grande and James Caparell were already tweeting.
Yeah.
They were still there. And,
Yeah.
they were like in the locker room.
Hey, that's the immediacy.
That's what it is. That's why I get scores from all over, though. You know what I mean? I found out about a lot of games that way.
We'll take a timeout, come back. We hope to talk to Dave Keefe, the Trinity basketball coach, his team. Did we get a hold of Coach? Yeah, okay. So we will have him next.
He's like the Marv Albert to David Letterman. Like he's the Dave Keefe is always like the emergency guest.
Well, he escaped the McHugh gym without talking to me, answering my hard-hitting
He
questions
always
last
does
night
that. He
after
goes
the
through
game.
that locker room back door.
It's exactly what he
Yeah,
did.
that's his move.
It's exactly
He's been doing
what
that
he
for
did.
a long time.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll talk with Coach Keefe about that exciting win. Really a good week for
They've
the
had a great
Pioneers.
week, tremendous week.
Beating Nashua South and knocking Spalding from the ranks of the unbeaten. So Trinity's still unbeaten. So them and Central, the only unbeaten teams in Division I, if I'm correct. Because BG lose last night, Spalding lost last night. There might be another one that I'm missing and forgetting. But we'll figure that out when we get back from the break. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, WGIR AM 610 and 96.7 The Wave. Your High School Hoop Show each and every Saturday morning between 7 and 9 a.m. Two fine stations, one of them in the Manchester area, the legendary WGIR AM 610. Also coming to be legendary, 96.7 The Wave, the crystal clear FM station out in Dave Haley country on the New Hampshire Seacoast. Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com, along with me, Pete Terrier. John Kesty is filming the show, posting it up on the website. Our producer, Adam Furious. And our first guest of the program is victorious Dave Keefe from Trinity High School. Coach, you've made it through the minefield that was this week. Nashua South on Tuesday, overtime win. Check. Last night, Spalding comes to town unbeaten. 2-point victory in the final seconds. Another check mark for your Pioneers. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you very much. And I just want to let you guys know that people talking around Manchester, both you guys are legendary, too.
I think that's because what I do at the dairy field sometimes. It's not what I want to be known for.
I won't talk about my sources. But, hey, Pete, I'm sorry I missed you last night. I didn't see you. I saw you down in Nashua, so no disrespect if I knew you were up there. I truly do appreciate what you do for New Hampshire basketball, and I didn't see you up there, and so I just snuck out the back door like I usually do and let the kids do the interviews.
Well, I started making my move towards your locker room. It was all dark, so I was lucky enough to grab Ryan Otis and Brad Rhodes, your two guards, both of them, the transfers. Rhodes transferred from Pembroke, and Otis transfers from Merrimack Valley, and you thrust them into the starting lineup, and I thought those two guys were the difference for you last night. They stepped up big when they needed to. Otis hit the big shot that put you guys ahead, but I was hoping you could talk about those two guys and what they did for you last night.
Yeah, first of all, it's not easy playing for me. But as you transfer it as a junior, you got to learn a whole new system, a whole different way of doing things. And I give both of those guys a lot of credit for hanging in there. You know, Ryan Otis has been solid for us on the defensive end. picking up the best player every night in Division One and doing a heck of a job, and knocking down that three. Patrick Keefe, got to the hoop, took a couple dribbles, drew two, and Ryan had his feet set, and Patrick saw him, and it's just one heck of a shot. Brad Rhodes, I give him a lot of credit. It hasn't been easy for him. It's a completely different style than what he's used to. And last night, as he was going up the back steps, I just said, "Hey, great job. I can definitely see improvement." He knocked down a couple big threes for us. So having both of those guys, just both of them are a real pleasure to coach, and we're very fortunate to have them at Trinity.
Last year, Dave, when I was writing the previews for the semifinals, I was getting opinions from coaches, and Seth Guerin of Alvin said something really, I thought, interesting about Spalding. And he said, they're so hard to prepare for because they run such a unique set of plays offensively that you can't replicate it in practice. Like, you can't get your kids to run that offense that Tim Cronin runs. Do you find the same thing? I just wanted to hear your thoughts on Spalding. I know you have a lot of respect for Tim Cronin. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Tim Cronin is one of the best. But it's true. I mean, if you probably had 5 to 7 days to prepare for him, you might be able to come close to it. But basically, we had our second team learn the plays on Wednesday, and that took them about a half hour down one end. And then on Thursday in practice, you do your best to defend that. But it's a whole different thing. These guys have been together I feel like paradise. I asked Timmy Cronin if I could check his birth certificate because it feels like he's been there for 7 or 8 years. He's just a great kid. I just love the way the kid plays. We got into foul trouble last night, and I talked to him after the game and said, hang in there. It's just one game. But, he's just a quiet kid, and he just plays hard each and every night. But, yeah, the sets, the 1-4 high sets, we know they're running the back door, but they beat us twice with it last night. They grind you, and they see when you come up and you're undisciplined on defense, they see you creeping up, and then that's when they really hurt you. And then they push the ball when it's there. So, they're a very good team, and they had some kids last night that stepped up for them when Paradise was out in foul trouble, knocking down some shots. We were up 4 or 5 points. I said, let's go zone. Some kids, Fogg and Bellio, and those kids came out and knocked down some big shots. So that's a tough team, and like you guys were saying earlier, just a very nice week for us to go down to Nashua South to beat them, and to beat another very good team, Spalding, at home last night. It was a very good week for us.
That's Dave Keefe, head coach of the Trinity Pioneers. His team now 5-0 on the season. You guys in Central, the only undefeated teams in Division One. They do have the bragging rights over you, though, because they beat you in the first round of that Queen City Invitational Holiday Basketball Tournament. Can you think back to that game? Because I came on the air the day after that game. Maybe it was a couple days after the game, but I felt that you guys were a little bit flat for that game. I don't know what you remember about that game, but Central really controlled that game throughout, and it didn't really seem like you guys were ever in that game. All due respect.
No. I agree with you 100%. We actually got together as a team and watched that on tape, and the kids were just like, wow, that's us. And I said, yeah. Basically against Central, and no disrespect, Central is the best team in Division I basketball right now. We just made one pass and shot it, one dribble penetration and shot it. We didn't share the ball. Everything was too quick that night, and we never got into a flow. And that's when we took the next 7 to 10 days to really, work on our offensive sets. We spent 2-3 hours every day just grinding it out to get better, which we still have a long ways to go. It's nice to be 5-0 right now. But I told the kids that, we got to get back at it. And I told them, I said, I think we could become a very good team in another 2 or 3 weeks. So that's what we're striving for.
You've got a bed. I don't know if you heard it early in the show, but I was at the Bedford-Winnicott game last night. Mike Fitzpatrick did a nice job. They pulled out we're going to call it a controversial one.
Yeah, call it. It is.
It was a little late. It might have been a little late, but you know what? It doesn't matter. They're 3-2, and they played well enough to get back in that game. But I know the relationship or parts of the relationship that you have with Coach Fitzpatrick. I think you guys are cousins, right? I just wanted you to kind of speak about his move over to Bedford and how much how close you guys are, the respect you have for him, and how he coaches his teams.
Michael and I have been, we grew up together, cousins. We've been playing basketball since we were, 6th and 7th graders, up the schoolyard and right up through our high school and during the summer and when we were both in college, as we well know, he's one of the greatest coaches in Division I basketball. He does such a great job as a teacher up there, and we're really looking forward to heading over there next Tuesday. He's doing great things out at Bedford. He's got a very good team. The big guy, Thomas, is along. He's working hard every day. The kid Cam Mezave, I think his name is.
Yeah, he can shoot.
Yeah, he can shoot it. Jake Capistran is another kid that can shoot lights out. The Grande kid is a point guard, is very tough. And we're in for a battle over there next Tuesday. But they're looking forward to it. Whenever I go against Michael, he's one of the guys that I stay in touch with. We text each other every Tuesday and Friday night before, wishing one another good luck, and make sure we text one another after with our scores. So there'll be a lot of fun going out there, and I look forward to heading to Bedford next Tuesday.
I remember the first game I ever saw you coach was 6 years ago, and I was with one of his former players, Chad Fletcher, and I remember Mike Fitzpatrick was the completely overqualified assistant coach because you were coaching Cormac at Trinity, his son. At that point, I remember my friend sitting there goes, I can't believe Fitzy has got his legs crossed sitting on the bench. Dave's barking out everything, leading the guys, and I remember how hard he was laughing. He's like, I can't believe Fitzy's just sitting there, and I was like, this is what he's doing. He kind of took a year and kind of helped Dave out in that program.
Oh, that was very kind of him to take that year and be the assistant coach, and he just added so much to the team that year, and it was just nice having Michael coach with me, and coaching Cormac out there was a lot of fun.
Coach Keefe, got to ask you about my boy Gabriel, who I thought took advantage of the fact that Parity was in foul trouble. I mean, just to let everybody know what happened, Parity picked up 2 fouls early in the game. I'm talking 2 minutes in. He was on the bench for the rest of the first quarter. Coach Cronin puts him back out there to start the second quarter. Not even 30 seconds into the second quarter, he picks up his third personal foul. So he sits the rest of the first half, having only played like 2.5 minutes of the first half. And then he doesn't even come out to start the third quarter and came in at 4:45 or something left to go in the third quarter. And then he was able to finish the game and didn't foul out. But he played like half the game, if that. So I thought Mabor really in that second quarter and the third quarter took advantage of the fact that the other big man wasn't in there, and Mabor had a big game, 14 points, 15 rebounds, 4 blocks. I want to thank your stat guy for filling me in with those other numbers. But, I mean, he seems to have kind of, I don't know if woken up is the best term, but he's kind of rising to the occasion, maybe realizing this is his senior year and this is really his turn to carry this team and see if he can win a championship, in his senior year.
Yeah, at halftime and in the third period, that was our goal, just to pound it and to run our offenses, our 4 out, our 34 and our 1 from the board, just to pound that ball in and get him really involved. And he was the key down in Nashua South also. In both of those games could have gone either way, but I give these kids a lot of credit. When you're down by 3 points, they didn't falter at all. They just kept their confidence and kept battling. That's what I really like about this group. They stick together no matter what the score is. And Mabor, I told him, I said, we got to pound that ball. If we're going to be successful this year, we got to pound that ball into you, and you got to score that basketball. And he took it upon himself. And just watching New Hampshire Notebook highlights this morning, those 4 blocks he had were key. And once he starts blocking shots and we start running the floor, we're a tough team. So Mabor's just got to learn to bring it each and every day. And if he does that, he's got to get better and better, which is going to make us, such a much better basketball team and maybe give us a chance to make another run at this in March.
Dave, the highlights are on New Hampshire Sports Page, not New Hampshire Notebook. And the next time we're at the Auburn Pits, it will be on you, my friend.
Yeah, Carmen's still complaining about the lack of tip you guys.
Come on. That is
I apologize for that. I apologize. I was actually Pete, I just saw your interview, and thank you very much for taking Otis and Rhodes off to the side, and that was a nice interview. I just watched it about 10 minutes ago. But the season's going well. But I told the kids last night, enjoy it tonight. But we got to get back at work. Sunday at noon and Monday afternoon, and we have a long season ahead of us. We can't just rest on our laurels and say we're one of the only 2 two undefeated teams in the state and everything's going to work out. No, it's a lot of hard work from this point forward, and I think the kids are ready to accept that.
All right, here's the real important question. I know I've seen you at football games. I'm talking high school football games. So I don't know how big of a NFL fan you are, but I'm wondering if you have an opinion. Pats Texans tomorrow. Are the Pats going to the AFC Championship game?
Most definitely. At home, I know it's going to be a completely different game. I think the first time around, and I'm not a big NFL guy, so I'll do my best to answer the question. I think it was 41-14 first time around. I think we're going to see more of like a 31-24 type of game with the Patriots winning.
All right, we'll take it. Coach, thanks so much for the time, and we'll see you soon at a gym near you.
Hey, thank you very much for your coverage this week, and have a great weekend.
All right, Dave Keefe from Trinity, one of the good ones, and he checks out the video highlights. I like that.
We were talking about him last night. Afterwards, I'll say this about Dave. He's a guy that if anything went wrong in your life, you're a coach or someone who's involved with covering sports. He's the first guy to call you. You know what I mean? He's just a very thoughtful guy, and called both you and I after last season after they lost a heartbreaker to Central.
Man, that was a hell of a game.
Just a good guy, yeah. And he's going to be buying me drinks at the after that. I've already gotten 3 text messages off of that, so my phone's blowing up at 7:30 in the morning.
If you're on the Spalding side of things, you're a Spalding fan. I had a post-game interview on that highlight package with Dominic Parody, so if you want to check that out, it was really a tremendous game, back and forth. You can see the 3 that Ryan Otis hit that gave them the lead for good, and they ended up holding on to win 56-54.
I got to check it out. I was adding scores this morning. I got the Justin McIsaac view. That's the pro Spalding view.
There were a lot of fouls in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of fouls and a lot of weird discussions with the officials. I'm not.
Do you know who officiated?
I've seen both of the guys.
It wasn't
before.
Will Flowers. Or
it wasn't Will Flowers.
Okay.
It was no one that I know their name, but I've seen both of the guys before.
It's not Mo.
It wasn't Mo.
Mo's on IR.
I've seen Mo Bilodeau at a few games this year with the crutches.
Yeah.
And they got
too bad.
They had in Nashua, I think it was. They had a special seat. Right in between the bleachers.
He jokes. Dave joked about us being legends in Manchester. Mo is a legend in Manchester.
All right, we'll take a quick timeout, come back, and we'll get into some of the other games around the state to talk about how some of those things went down. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, WGIR AM 610 and 96.7 The Wave. Pounding the bass in your face early on a Saturday morning. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show.
There. Did you really?
That's old school. That's college radio right there.
I'm a boss DJ.
Oh, God.
Adam Furious, our producer.
Man.
You can hear him nightly
Yeah.
on our sister station, Rock 101.
And you can see him.
FM.
You can see him at a concert with me in February. I'm going to drag him to a show here in Manchester.
Well, trust me.
Hair metal.
Why? He makes it sound like such a bad thing. Like he's gonna grab you by the hair and drag me there to a concert.
Plenty of that.
Oh no,
man.
anything but that.
Have you
Anything
not
but that.
noticed the scary tattoos and the crazy goatee and all that, and the ponytail?
I went. So I'll say
fits
this.
right in.
I'll say this on the air. I went to the BC NC State game last weekend with 3 coaches and high school coaches that had gone too, and they said, "I love the fact that you've been on the show, and all of a sudden they're playing Winger and Twisted Sister and all this stuff going into the break." I said, "I'm taking this thing over."
Hey, I want to go around the league and talk about some different stuff. I want to start with Nashua South, victorious last night against Timberlane. Not that it's a big game by any stretch, because Timberlane is not very good at all.
38 on the road.
But Nashua South bouncing back from that overtime loss to Trinity on Tuesday night. I was at the game. We had the highlights on the website. Nashua South is a good team this year.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Knight, who everybody knows about from football, outstanding running and throwing quarterback, only a junior. When I saw him on the roster and I heard Coach Mazerol, we had Coach Maz on, right around the Queen City, the Chick-fil-A holiday tournament in Nashua between Christmas and New Year, and he was talking about Trevor Knight and how good of a basketball player he was, defensive player, and I was like, yeah, you're just saying that because it's Trevor Knight. He's not a star. Tim Preston is the star of that team to me. Tim Preston is a very good player, but what Trevor Knight brings, he's one of those
Glue
intangible guys, glue guys.
Glue guy. And, well, you know, it's funny. James Caparell didn't even come out. I'm sure at some point he came out. He barely came out. I don't think the whole second half James Caparell came out of the game. Is James Caparell a great basketball player? No, he's a great football player. And by the way, UNH was there last night, the football guys, talking to him. But he played because he knows when to rotate on defense. He plays really good defensively. He talks. He moves the ball offensively. He can finish on the block when he gets it. That's the kind of player that Trevor Knight is. Ben Garrow of Winnicott, same kind of guy. Glue guys. And in the preseason, Nate told me that. He said he and Dan Auger, he said, these are guys who just do whatever it takes to win. They don't care about how many points they score.
Yeah, Ogier, very good. They have Nashua South with Tim Preston. You know, everybody considers Tim Preston their point guard. But I think what they've been able to do with Ogier, he can handle the ball. So that frees up Preston to take more of a role offensively as a shooter.
We'll get him on the wing, get him freed up. Yeah.
To me, he's one of the best guards in the state, hands down. He's only a junior. A lot of people talk about his big brother, Jack Preston, who is 6'6", and he's very strong, and he dunks a lot, and he's good. But I really think that Tim Preston is the straw that stirs that drink in Nashua South.
Oh, yeah, the point guard usually is. And, yeah, and the fact they have that kind of chemistry being brothers is a plus. There was one of – we actually have more scores than the NHIAA in Division I on our site. But
That's
one
a
of the
shocker.
Yeah, well, one score – and, again, all the box scores there. But one score we didn't mention because it's not up on NHIAA yet, but we have it. Dover 52, North 36. So Dover – and Mike Wands might be out for a long time for Dover.
I heard he's out for the year.
Yeah, I heard that. He might be. Yeah, I didn't confirm it, but yeah, he could be out for a while.
And that's tough. I mean,
yeah.
Those guys have played well despite the fact
they
that
need
no
scoring.
Mike LeBlanc. Dover's a grinded out team. You keep, going back to what Dave Wheeler told us
Mm-hmm.
how Dover manhandled them in
physically
the
manhandled
in the fall league or summer league. So Dover's a decent team as well. I really like what I'm seeing from Central, of course. They had another victory last night, blew out Londonderry.
Pelletier at 19.
So Pelletier, who has been letting his other teammates, contribute. I saw Plensis is back. Had double-digit points the other night in the win. I can't remember who they played on Tuesday night, but that just makes Central all that much deeper.
They beat Keene on Tuesday night by 6. That trip to Keene is tough.
Is it worth like 6 points? Just make for the home team. Just having someone.
I have
in
some.
the
I
gym?
remember I asked Jason King this. I interviewed him a little bit for the site from WMUR, and he said, "No way, no way." And then you talk to other people, they say, "Oh, absolutely, yeah." I mean, it is. That's a long trip out there, and sometimes that gym can be a little sterile. It's not because they haven't been winning, so it's not the greatest environment. And if it's a Tuesday night over there, that can be. You can sleepwalk into that thing. And Dave Sontag is in his first year there. He's a young guy. And from what I can see from afar, I think he's doing a very good job there. I was a big fan of Bill Johnson, their old coach who got fired. I thought he had him on the right track, but that's a whole nother story.
Speaking of road trips, Dave, yesterday was weird for me because I was at the Trinity Spalding game in Manchester, but early in the day I had to drive to Rochester. I got a promotion at Buffalo Wild Wings tomorrow, 496.7 The Wave, a Patriots playoff viewing party.
Oh, good.
And we're going to be out there. I'm going to be hosting the event as we watch the game. I'll be out there starting at 4 o'clock. And the place is going to be packed. So if you're planning on going, I would recommend get there early, go watch the first game, and we'll have some fun, lots of prizes and giveaways, things like that. So I had to drive out to Rochester in the afternoon and then back to Manchester, and I was like looking for that Spalding bus on my way back here. But how come everybody complains about having to go to Spalding, but nobody says, sheds any tears for Spalding having to go wherever they need to go?
This is the old Berlin conversation. I used to write this about Berlin, and then I got emails from parents in Berlin saying, hey, we got to go. We got to drive out to places and so forth. The argument is they're used to it, but I guess it's out of the norm for a lot of these teams. You think Rochester? I've heard you say that on this show that's a tough trip to Rochester. Is it to Rochester?
Well,
because Rochester's right next to Dover. What's the difference?
I'm from Nashua, so
we know
Nashua to Rochester is tough. Yeah. Manchester to Rochester is not so bad, but it still takes an hour.
Yeah.
It takes an hour.
We were talking about you. We were talking about you last night. It's like Christopher Columbus, where you're like, New Hampshire. Let me explain the regions. There is Nashua, Manchester, and Concord.
I don't go to Concord that often.
We are still searching for other regions of the state.
I don't go to Concord that often. I'll tell you what, a reason for me to go to Concord this year: the Bishop Brady Green Giants. They beat Portsmouth at Portsmouth earlier this week.
Got out-rebounded by 30 and won.
And still won. And
Jim
won by a
Mulvey told me the other night, he goes,
margin.
I've never had that happen in my entire career. Out-rebounded somebody by 30 and lost.
Now, will we have Mulvey on next Saturday morning?
Anytime. We got to wait for the right time to get Jim on. And
Well,
Jim, come on anytime. Listen, you pick one guest, and Eric Saucier's my guest today. I get to kind of like go it out. I want to have Don Picard from Berlin on at some point, and I'd like to have Buddy Trask from Colebrook on at some point, and then Seth Guerin I talked about coming on the show. Not Fitzy. But everybody else we're going to get on.
We got to get to a break, come back, and we'll wrap up the first hour. As Dave just said, Eric Saucier, the Conant head basketball coach, coming on to join us 8:25 this morning. Stick around. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, WGIR, AM 610 and 96.7 The Wave. I'll tell you what. When we first started doing this show and Dave said, Pete, you got to start talking some D4 hoops, I said, you know what? You got another thing coming if you think I'm going to start talking about that.
Oh, God.
But I'm going to lead this short segment as we head to the top of the hour, 8 o'clock. The Newmarket Mules, we had Jamie Hayes on the show last weekend, their head coach, undefeated. They won that battle of unbeatens on Tuesday at Pittsfield. They're victorious again last night. They're 8-0. So them and Littleton, the only two unbeaten teams left in Division 4.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to tell because the schools in the southern part of the state or central part of the state don't play those northern schools.
They used to do cross games or I don't know how they call it. Jamie had the term for it. But when the gas prices went up, the NHIAA squashed it. Now, last night, Moultonborough hosted Lisbon. Lisbon won 54-46. So it does happen, and Moultonborough actually goes out and plays Profile as well, which is in Bethlehem, New Hampshire, because I know you're going, where the heck is Profile? But
I'm going, where the heck is Bethlehem? Actually, it's up there by Santa's Village and all that stuff, I think.
Yeah, it's where Jesus was born. So anyway, they were, I think, I'll have to check on my sources. But anyway, so yeah, that's why I think Division 4 is so interesting to me, because the Colebrookes and the Littletons and the Lisbons of the world are, so separated from the Epping, Newmarket, and Derryfields of the world. By the way, Guilford, Berlin, I got a text last night from Don Picard at Berlin. That game canceled because there was a threat of frozen rain. The Berlin kids driving back to Berlin. So what does that mean, Pete? I'll tell you what it means. Guilford's still undefeated, baby.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
6-0.
What would you think would happen if your old high school played my old high school, Nashua South against Guilford?
It wouldn't go very well for me. No.
What if I adopted Nashua North for the game?
That might be a little closer.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Late's having a nice year from North, but they're struggling there. Steve Lane's second year is a lot of work.
All right, we're out of time in the first hour, but if you get a chance, pick up a copy of the Union Leader today, the City Sports column written by John Habib. Talks about what the story that came out, Bellevue and Batista, the former head coaches, Mike Bellevue from Sauhegan, Joe Batista from Merrimack, were going to join Peter Colcord's staff at Manchester Memorial.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the Manchester director of athletics, Dave Goslin, did not know about it. So the whole story in the City Sports column in the Union Leader by John Habib is, that's not happening. He didn't tell me. They don't have openings. We got controversy in the Queen City.
We got controversy everywhere.
Check out the UL. We got another hour to go. The New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. WGIR AM 610, 96.7 The Wave.
The size of the school, their fancy uniforms. And remember what got you. Focus on the fundamentals. We've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game. In my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
The New Hampshire High School Hoop Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
Right now, it's not about talent. It's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before. They're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
And now, here are your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those 2 foul shots, the end of the game. Did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a soup question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
Hour number 2 of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. Pete Terrier, Dave Haley, NHSportsPage.com, producing it. As always, Adam Furious. We got John Kesty from NHSportsPage.com in the house filming the show. As a matter of fact, his new video camera is so good that he's sitting on a chair in the studio, and the tripod is up, and he's just trusting that we don't do anything crazy, so he has to pan away.
We can always edit it out if we do something crazy.
Exactly. We'll have that thing posted on the website tomorrow at some point, so you can listen to the show, you can watch the show, you can see what these two dudes on the radio really look like. And ladies, let me tell you, it's worth the click. It is worth the click.
The price of admission.
You got it. We're going to run down the scores from a lot of the games that took place around the state of New Hampshire. Dave will sprinkle in some scores from parts unknown of New Hampshire, at least unknown to me. And then later on this hour, we'll talk with the head coach of the Conant Orioles basketball team, unbeaten at 7-0. They are a really, really good basketball team. And I'm looking forward to later on this year when they're going to be coming to Litchfield, so this area. So I'll be able to go check them out, Conant against Campbell. Those two teams are going to play each other actually on Tuesday. Unfortunately, what you will probably tell us within the next couple of minutes or so, that it won't be a battle of unbeatens in Division III, unfortunately.
That's spoiler alert. That may be the case.
All right, well, why don't we get to the scoreboard right now? It's brought to you by New Hampshire Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement and the Buyers Beware program, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors. Yes, even if your team finally gets back in the national spotlight. I'm talking about Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. They go to the BCS National Championship game, and they get wiped off the field in a big way. Don't try and drown your sorrows with your youth fan that's
You're
watching
10 seconds from doing this show by yourself, by the way.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, because I'm about to leave too.
At least they got there. At least they got there.
I think they got there. I'm not sure they ever showed up. But did we already do this? Can I go now?
You can go.
Because I didn't know. I like it when you say, even if you can't buy booze, and I thought we were going to do something about
I
high school.
couldn't let it get by me without at least acknowledging that your team at least made it to the national championship
No comment
game.
on booze on Monday night. But anyway, to the scoreboard, Manchester Memorial with a very nice win, overtime win over BG, 64-61 on the road. So that's their signature win of the year right there during the regular season. BG came back to force overtime, but Memorial takes care. Tong Acott with 26 points, and he's now fifth in Division I in scoring. Merrimack, the defending champs, 65-40 over Concord. Nice win there. Eric Gendron and Shane Bork with a nice effort for the champs. Moving around Division I, Manchester Central, 73-48 over Londonderry, behind 19 points from Troy Pelletier. Dover with a nice win over Nashua North, 52-36. As we mentioned, Mike Wands may be out for some time for Mike Romps' team, so we'll try to clarify that, how long he may be out for. Exeter with their second win in a row. They got that bounce off that Christmas tournament, like I said, 50-40 over Pinkerton. And let it be said, in the major sports, Exeter owns Pinkerton. They just can't lose to them.
Brian O'Reilly is
pumping his fist. Salem gets their first win of the year, 64-54 over Keene. A nice win for Rob McLaughlin's team. Nashua South, 35-37 over Timberlane. Timberlane is a big wrestling school. It's good to be noted on that one. Trinity, 56-54 over Spalding, a game that Pete Terrier was at. And the game I was at, Bedford beats Winnicott on a 25-foot buzzer after beating shot. I don't know how to term this, but he hit it. Taylor Grande from 25 feet, 55-53. That's a nice win for Bedford, and Mike Fitzpatrick's as expected, doing a really good job. So bounce around real quick. Derryfield 60, Concord Christian 42. They're, again, one of the top teams. Conant, we're going to be talking to Eric Saucy. I'm looking forward to talking to Eric on the air. 65-29 over Fall Mountain. Upset of the night, Farmington. When has Farmington been a factor since the Mike Lee days? Farmington with a 70-65 win over Campbell. They knocked them from the unbeatens. Plymouth Regional with a 76-69 win over Kennett. Double overtime on the road. That was almost a very bad loss for Plymouth, but they pull it out there. Littleton remains undefeated, 71-62 over Buddy Trask. And Colebrook Lebanon, real impressive win, 60-37 over Brady. Lebanon's for real. Lisbon 54-46 over Moultonborough. That's their second win of the year there. Jamie Hayes and Newmarket remain undefeated, 64-47 over Sunapee. Halls Brookline with a 54-38 kind of take care of business win over Milford. One of the games of the night, Pelham 65, Goffstown 47. Keith Brown with 16, Jake Vac-Norris with 25, and Matt Regan's team's playing really well. The defending champs are Portsmouth with a 57-41 win over St. Thomas. And Sauhegan with a 68-42 win over Conval. Mike Heaney's team's playing really well.
Did you mention the Epping game against Portsmouth Christian?
I did not.
69-37, Epping wins it. But one of the Stanley brothers had his 1,000th point. Was that Frank Stanley?
That was early.
Last week.
Frank. And Jimmy is a junior. Jimmy will get it next year.
How good is Frank Stanley?
He's good. He's just a kid who he's one of those kids that maybe his best play is throwing it off the rim, getting you out of the way, getting the rebound, and putting it back up and in. Jimmy's more of an outside threat, but Frank is just a bruiser. Like, he's a good athlete. Those guys are kind of funny. They'll kind of go at each other on the floor sometimes,
really?
like brothers. Yeah. But no, he's a very good player.
Let's kind of stick in that area. Cole Brown beating Oyster River last night. You talked about a 49-43.
No, I didn't see that score yet.
Okay, well, Cole Brown wins it.
Really?
Nick Lazar, or is it Laser?
Lazar.
He's been putting up the points this year. Had another 19 points last night. 13 of them came in the fourth quarter. What do you know about both of those teams, Cole Brown, Oyster River?
Cole Brown last year had they made a run. They went to the Final Four, and what happened last year is they had a lot of kids. Skylar Mitchell, for one, they got hurt. So a lot of the bench kids, Damon Doyle and Jackman and a couple of those other kids, had to kind of step into bigger roles a little early. And they struggled for a little bit last year, but it's really benefited them as those kids are kind of more ready to go now. Cole Brown lost by 30 to Portsmouth last week, and Conant whooped them up at the Christmas tournament. But Dave Smith is their head coach. I've known Dave forever, and he's one of the best. He's a Hall of Fame coach, and they run a really good program over there. Stuart Mitchell does a nice job with Oyster River. They're getting scoring now. That team had some kind of internal issues, Oyster River, last year, but they're 4-2 now. They're going to be right there in the mix. I think they'll try to be I think they might be a top 12 team, I think, in that division.
And I think I saw Stuart Mitchell at the Chick-fil-A tournament in Nashua when Sauhegan was playing Nashua South. I saw Mulvey there. I've seen Mulvey there each of the last couple of years.
Mulvey
probably taking a look at Milford and Sauhegan, who play in that tournament.
Hollis Brookline, they play.
Matt Regan was there from Pelham, and I think Oyster River was also. Stuart Mitchell was there also on the other side of things. I want to see that team play. I want to see Lazar or Laser, however you pronounce it. I want to see him play because I keep seeing him in the box scores that he's putting up points on a regular basis. Pembroke, very, very good. In Division 2.
Oh, yeah, 86-54 over Wyndham, and Patrick Wells had 33. The NHIAA is a little behind today. We have more scores, I think, than they do.
Well, and look, they rely on the coaches or the ADs to log in with the scores. So I don't know if they ever got that Trinity Spalding score or not.
No.
For whatever reason, Trinity doesn't seem to report their scores to the NHIAA. And I don't know if that's I don't know whose job that is. If it's Gary Leonard's at the games. I saw him there last night. He's always there. I don't know if it's someone that's supposed to do it.
I think it's the home team.
Wouldn't they send like an email or something or a phone call and say, "Hey, you guys never send your scores in"?
I don't know.
How about doing it?
I don't know who's home at the NHIAA all the time.
Well, because the gentleman that calls you with the box scores
Richard.
for every single Trinity game, I hear him on the phone, and he's got like 5 different media outlets that he's calling. He's got to call the Union Leader. He's got to call the Telegraph or whatever. He's got to call you.
Yeah.
Good
guy.
He spent like a half hour just making phone calls and running down box scores. So, maybe they just need to be reminded that they got to put those scores in the NHIAA.
Union Leader is doing a better job with box scores now. and getting them on the site, especially for the. It's funny, but the Manchester teams, you wouldn't think this, they're usually the toughest to get newspaper scores for. So that's why I kind of really reached out to all those coaches. The only coach in Manchester that doesn't get any stats to me is Danny Bryson. He's a good guy. He's talked to him a bunch. He's the West head coach. He just doesn't. He used to. He was funny. What happens on the site is that when teams are winning, they get you their stats, and when they don't, they tend to forget. So, I gave Dave Chase from Hopkinton grief about that last weekend. They lost to Monadnock last night in a big upset. I don't know when that score is getting reported to me. When they win, though, it's on there within the hour. But I understand. I mean, it's not fun adding stats when you lose. But that be the case. That's you have to reach out to these coaches yourself. But this doesn't exist 7 years ago, 8 years ago, where you could get all of it. We're spoiled with what we have in New Hampshire. They don't have this in Vermont.
Sure,
or Maine.
Sure, but they still don't have replay at the end of a game, so you can tell whether the 3-pointer was before the buzzer or after the buzzer.
Yeah, it was fun. He got that guy got caught up in the moment. There's no question about it. But hey, all the credit to Bedford.
So Bedford victorious last night at Winnicott. Spalding. What I will say about Spalding is they're tough. I mean, we talked about it earlier. They're very, very tough. I mean, they didn't have their best player for a majority of the game last night, Dominic Parity, and they still gave Trinity everything they could handle. And you know what? With all the fouls and the way things were going, I was surprised that Spalding was able to hang in that game, and they could have won the game last night. And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. They're very, very deep. They've got some quality big men. They get the sophomore Anthony Ciccatelli. He played some pretty good minutes. Charlie Nevigens, a junior, he's a big man. He's pretty good as well. Parity is obviously very, very good. Their guard, Seth Fogg. Nick McGregor, I didn't even mention him. He had 14. He's a kid that always seems to be in the middle of it, has the ability to stick the three. They got a bunch of different guys that are playing and contributing. That's a tough out every single year. It really is.
Tim Cronin built that program from the ground up. You know what I mean? He's very involved in the youth programs, as I'm sure we'll hear from Eric when we get him on. But, yeah, and what they went through, you talked about having Dominic on the show. I wanted to ask him, I would love to get him on the show to hear his perspective on what happened with that bus crash last year. And then remember there were kids hurt, and the NHIAA basically said something like, you got to play Sunday night or you're out. And they had to come back like a day later, beat Nashua North on the road. That Gauthier Javon Williams team, Farmer was on that team. I mean, that was crazy what they beat Weston a buzzer beater in the first round. It was crazy what those kids went through, and just to hear a perspective of one of those kids.
I did get a chance to talk to Parity a little bit. We have it on the video highlights on nhsportspage.com if you want to check that out. Talked a little bit with DB Betts, the assistant coach for Spalding after the game. They obviously were not happy to drive home with the loss, but I think that they were pretty happy to be able to go out on the road, play in that situation with Parity. Really not, I don't even know, I don't, get the minutes played or whatever, but he didn't play at least half that game last night. He sat for I would say more than half of that game, and they lost by 2.
They have to go at Winnicott next.
That's on Tuesday, correct?
Yeah.
That's going to be a heck of a game. I got to try and figure out what game I want to be at on Tuesday night. That's the toughest part for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can look at a schedule and say, that's the game I want to be at. Others, you're like, I want to be at that game, I want to be at that game, I want to be at this game. That's the beauty of Twitter. So I can be at one game and I can kind of follow some of the other games.
I think Elliot reprimanded
vicariously through the internet.
Yeah, Elliot was reprimanding you and I. You're doing play-by-play. It's tough to do Twitter.
He's sending me, he's putting some tweet out that says, you guys need to step up your Twitter game. I'm like, I'm doing play-by-play, and, during timeouts, I'm trying to tweet out a score with minimal information.
If I may take a little shot at my buddy Elliot, a very good friend of mine. Love the guy. He one of the Monadnock kids, they lost by 30 to Conant 5 days ago. And then they turned around and beat Hopkinton, who's a very good team. Hopkinton almost beat Concord in a Christmas tournament. They're legit. So a kid from Monadnock says, huge upset tonight. Elliot then retweets the kid and said, well, I would say huge. Don't give yourself some credit. So I then responded. I said, no. I was at the gym and went. I said, no, it's a huge upset. And then he comes back at me, Elliot, my partner here, and he goes, well, blah, blah, blah. And I texted him on the side. It can be known now to the world. I said, are you questioning me on Division III basketball? Like, you make fun of me for how much I know about D3 and D4. You're now questioning me? I'm like, trust me. I thought they were going to lose by 30, Monadnock, and they pulled that upset. So, Anyway, yeah, so he's sitting at home in Fremont telling us to get going.
Speaking of Monadnock, we're going to head out to the Monadnock region with our next guest, maybe by way of Concord, New Hampshire, the capital region, because that's where Coach Eric Saucier lives and coaches the Conant Orioles, Jaffrey Rinch. We'll talk to him next as the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show continues. WGIR AM 610 and 96.7 The Wave. Coming up on 8:30, it is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show each and every Saturday morning between 7 and 9 a.m. on two fine radio stations in New Hampshire. You got WGIR AM 610, Manchester, Nashua, Concord area, Seacoast signal for you at 96.7 The Wave. What we need now, Dave, Pete Terrier along with Dave Haley, NHSportsPage.com. We need an affiliate out in the western part of the state where we can get up close and personal and local contacts with teams and programs like the Conant Orioles, dominant program in Division III, one of the best programs in the entire state of New Hampshire. Here to talk about that team and a little D3 hoops is Eric Saucier. Coach Saucier, good morning. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
So, Coach, I always joke a lot about that I don't get to a lot of Division III or Division IV games. I'm a D1, D2 snob, but I can say that I have seen Conant on numerous occasions over the years. Matter of fact, one of the first games I ever did way back in the early 90s was in Jaffrey at your gym. Conant, I can't remember who the hell they played, but this was like 1991. So I have a little history with Conant
1991.
basketball.
Eric and I were.
Yeah, you guys were probably still in high school back then, but I did start a long time ago. It might have been the first game I ever did play-by-play for back in the day. Conant Orioles working for the old 92.1 WNHQ at the time. So that signal actually originated out of Peterborough. So I can respect your program, and you're certainly very, very good. You're unbeaten in the league now, 6-0, I believe. You beat Fall Mountain last night, 65-29. What is in the water out there that just keeps your program really, really good year after year?
It's just a basketball town. You know, everybody loves basketball, both on the boys and girls side. The town's really into it. They come and support us all the time. Parents are into it, and they start at a young age. Right now it's about 8:30, so the guys are probably waking up because at 9 o'clock from 9 to 12. From 9 to 10:30, the first and second graders are in the gym. Then from 10:30 to 12, the third and fourth graders are in the gym, and our players are the ones that coach them. So that's great for our guys to work with the little kids, and then the little kids come support the guys, and then they want to wear the uniform one day. So it just starts at a young age, and then it just goes all the way up through.
Eric, we had when we had Coach Lenahan from Plymouth on in the fall, and I kind of equate the Plymouth football program with the Conant basketball program in that all the big teams are like, all right, come to us, play us. And, I know in Plymouth's case, people criticize, say, oh, you win that league every year. Well, what would you do against Central, and what would you do against, Trinity or not Trinity, but Central or Nashua schools or whatnot. And I know you guys, you go out and play in the Keene tournament, and, for you guys, people say they should be in the Queen City. Well, that's a pretty far drive, and you may have to get a hotel room, and, I mean, who's paying for this? How do you – I know you feel this way. I know you scrimmage BG every year because I talked to you about it. But how do you feel about the fact that these bigger teams want to play you? I'm sure, knowing you now for years, you'd play anybody. But how do you kind of deal with that as a coach, I mean, do you just have to kind of focus on the teams within your own division, really?
Yeah. I mean, you can only play who you're playing against. We always go to Keene every year. They always have good teams. We're always playing the upper divisions. But you're right. We love to play everybody. This summer we were in the Goffstown League. We got to play against Central. We got to play against Goffstown. Merrimack Valley. We got to play a lot against bigger schools. And in the preseason this year, we got to scrimmage BG, and we always scrimmage Mike Heaney, Rick Falhegan, and Milford. So we always like going against that competition because we want to play against the best. That's the only way to get better is to play against the best.
I was gonna say one year we had, what year was it, Pete, that you and I were voting for the Player of the Year, and you asked me for a ballot before we doing the show, and I put Sean Martin as my Player of the Year from Conant, and Pete sent me an email back. Eric said, "Of course you put Sean Martin from Conant as your Player of the Year over Zach Mathau." I said, "The kid won 4 state championships." I mean, how's it crazy that I'm putting the kid? Was that the best team with Kyan Kemp and Jimmy Peard and Sean Martin? Was that the best team that you've ever coached?
So far, yes, that is the best team. This year's group has a chance to be just as special.
You think so?
If they stay with it and keep committed to the defense like they are, then this group definitely has a chance to be that special.
And I guess the guy that Dave would vote for this year is Devin Springfield, one of the leading scorers in the entire state, right around 20 points a game. Don't know what he did last night, but what can you say about Devin Springfield to educate the people in the rest of the state that maybe haven't seen this kid play?
Devin's a 6'3" shooting guard, really committed to the game. He can shoot the three. He's really developed a mid-range game, and he can get to the basket. He does everything for us. He handles the ball. He rebounds. He runs the floor. He makes threes. I think he's second on the team in rebounding and third in assists, and our leading scorer, obviously. So he does everything.
When you play with a style of just pressure, causing turnovers, you guys are famous for, if a team takes a long three and misses it, they're done, because you're going to get the long rebound. You're going to have a kid flying down the floor, up the lane, up the sideline. It's 2 points, before the kid, before they can even turn around. And that's been so successful for you guys, both in the tournament and during the regular season. But does it hurt you a little bit when you get to Southern New Hampshire in that the court gets bigger? And, last year I know you guys just didn't have a good shooting night against Prospect Mountain and when you were upset in the semis. But does the style still work I know it works, but is it still the right style to use on a college-sized floor, that pressure and just kind of compacting the game?
It's actually better because the floor is bigger. It gives us more space to run, gives us more space to work on the break. And it's a longer court, so it tires people out more. People always ask me that question because they're like, "Oh, your court at Conant is smaller," which it is. But you get to the big court, and we go to Keene State. We play on that floor, and the press still works, and we're still able to run. And it's. I think that's just a mental thing if it was, but our guys don't see it that way. It's just a floor. It's the same. It's the same thing. College players press all the time. So, no, I think that's just. I don't believe in that. Like you said last year, I thought we played great defense against Prospect Mountain. We just shot 19% from the field.
Eric Saucier from Conant High School is our guest. I got to throw a little barb at Farmington for messing up the Battle of Unbeatens in Division III, which was going to take place at your place on Tuesday night. Campbell was undefeated going into last night's game against Farmington. Farmington knocked them off, so you will have a one-loss Campbell team coming in on Tuesday to take on your Orioles. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about Campbell. I've seen them play this year. They were at the Chick-fil-A tournament in Nashua. They're local to the area where I am, around Manchester, but that's a good basketball team and a real good program that first-year coach John Langlois has after Pat Roy stepped down.
Yeah, no, they're very good, and they always give us great games every year. We actually play Monday night. At
Monday.
Place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's moved to Monday, but they got a great guard, Max Covey and Jacob Morgan. Those two are seniors. You got Josiah Wade, and I went and scouted them this year, and John's got them really, really playing tough defense, getting up in guys, and playing full court, which is we're gonna love that. We love teams that want to go up and down with us, so it should be a good one on Monday.
So when you guys, people realize I remember when you guys arrive, it's a big deal. I remember when you guys played Somersworth in the quarterfinals a few years back. They kind of didn't they surround the bus and sort of were chanting to you guys as you got off the bus, like leading into that game. And I remember you guys are sort of have that like the Fab Five was at Michigan, where everyone knows you're coming and it's sort of a big deal. What are some? And I remember I covered a game a couple of years ago with you. That you were coaching up at Mascoma, and the place was just packed, and I had to sit on the stage, and it was like overflow crowd. What are some of the places that you play at on the road, Eric, that you look forward to because it's just going to be a tremendous atmosphere?
one is definitely Campbell, because we go there every year, and they really want to beat us. So they always bring out a good crowd over there. But really, a lot of gyms we go to are full, which is what I like about Division III. It's a community-based division. The communities are close to the guys that are playing on the floor, and a lot of people go out to watch the games. When I coached at Conval, which is a regional school, it was tough for people. I mean, there's some kids who live 45 minutes from the school, whereas Jaffrey, Ringe, Hillsborough, Newport, Hopkinton, Campbell, all these schools, people live with close vicinity of the school, so everybody comes out and supports, which is what I really like.
Coach, Dave, obviously a grad of Guilford High School. He's trumpeting the fact that they're still unbeaten. They're not on your schedule.
We don't want Conant on our
You
schedule.
don't want no
We're
part of
fine. No,
Conant.
we're doing just fine. We'll play Winners Common Interlakes. We're good. We're good.
What's it like, though, getting to the playoffs and playing teams that you haven't played during the regular season? You haven't seen, you probably don't have a lot of film on. That must make it a lot tougher.
Well, what I try to do is set up a schedule to go see everybody throughout the year. But it can work two ways. We don't get to see them, but they also don't get to see us. So you can know that you're going into the gym and you're going to get pressed and all that, but until you play against it, it's a little different. So it can work both ways. It's both teams are at a disadvantage if you haven't played against each other. So that's why one of the things I preach to the guys is, I'm going to show you a few things from the other team, but it's more about what we do, not about what they do.
And I just want to say the one year that Eric wasn't in the semifinals as a coach, I sat next to him and it was not fun. He was not enjoying himself. He
Little
was
antsy?
He was sitting in the crowd with me. He's like, this is not, what is going on? This is weird. He's like, I've never even sat here. I'm watching Mascoma play Bo. You were a little antsy that night, Coach.
Yeah, I wasn't happy.
You haven't been back in the stands since.
How do you like the atmosphere at SNHU? I don't know if you've coached at Plymouth when they had the tournament up there, the later rounds of the tournament up there. What do you think about SNHU? Because I think they do a tremendous job.
Oh, they're fantastic. I've been both at Plymouth. I was at Plymouth for 3 years, and now I've been at SNU for 3 or something like that. But SNU, they do a great job. The atmosphere is great. I know a lot of the fans said that they really like SNU because it's closer, it's more central based, and just the atmosphere, the gym, the lighting that they do, the music that they do. I think they do a fantastic job, and I hope it stays there for years to come.
What time's tip time on Monday night for the Campbell game?
Monday night, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock Monday night out there in Oriole country. The Conant Orioles and the Campbell Cougars should be a good one, despite the fact that Campbell lost last night. Coach Eric Saucier, thanks so much for joining us on the program, and we wish you the best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. Eric Saucier, Conant coach, one of the good ones. And if you haven't seen this program, if you're like us, you're in the Manchester area where we do the show, GIR AM 610, they're coming to Litchfield the 19th of February. I don't know what day that is, if it's a Tuesday, Friday, Monday, whatever, but they will be here the 19th. I know Lauren Lucas from Somersworth said February 1st, that's a Friday night. It's Conant taking on Somersworth. At Somersworth would be a good game to get to as well. But get a chance. If you get a chance, go out and see these guys. I'm looking forward to seeing Devin Springfield play his senior year. He's a kid that's going to play at the next level, no doubt.
Yeah, and his sister's a heck of a player. His father was a really, really good player. So, yeah, no, absolutely. He's a kid who and Conant doesn't play Somersworth this year, by the way.
They don't.
You're making up games
It was
now.
at Campbell.
Because now there's going to be people standing in the cold on February 1st looking for the Conant bus, and they're not going to be there because they're going to be playing
that's
Raymond.
Campbell, Somersworth. So Somersworth at Litchfield that day.
They got another kid, Robert O'Brien and Jake Carlson, and two other players on that Conant team who are very, very, very good. And Eli Hodgson, who he's Ezra Hodgson's younger brother.
He's a big man, right, Ezra was?
And Ezra is starting as a sophomore in college up at Plattsburgh. He's playing with a kid by the name of Mike Mitchell. Do we remember Mike Mitchell from Milford? Remember that name? Remember the Milford
Mikey
team?
Mitchell.
We used to talk about them a little bit.
That real good Milford team.
He's starting. Ezra is starting as a sophomore up there. So, and Mike Mitchell is the backup point guard and plays good minutes for them. So 2 New Hampshire kids playing up there, D3, doing well.
Love hearing about Granite State kids doing well at the next level.
John Wickey's doing tremendous, by the way, at Babson.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the best player on that team as
I'm
a
not
sophomore.
surprised.
No, neither am I.
All right, timeout. We'll come back and we'll go around the state. We'll talk about some of the games. Want to get into that BG Memorial game. Neither one of us were there, but love to just delve into that one a little bit. And I'm intrigued by Bishop Girton, so I'm going to have to check out their schedule and see when I'm going to see them for the
Boykins
first
injury
time.
could be really big.
Well, they're deep. I mean, Miggs plays a lot of guys,
Yes.
and I know that hurts them losing him if he's going to be out for an extended period of time. We'll wait and see about that one, but we will get into that BG Memorial game and talk a little bit about the controversy that has sprung up with the Crusaders following that win in the Queen City Invitational Tournament. Story, interesting one by Jim Fennell last week in the Union Leader. Jack Quirk kind of coming out and talking about their, kind of the black hat wearing team, the bad guys, so to speak. And we'll talk about that when we come back. A lot of weird stuff happening with Memorial these days. The football story we told you about earlier. The basketball story. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, WGIR, AM 610 and 96.7 The Wave. New Hampshire High School Hoop Show / Headbangers Ball
Love
on
it.
Saturday morning.
Can I get my own Headbangers Ball show after this?
Yeah, you can have it.
Give Adam and I an hour.
I'll sell you the time.
I'm totally down with that. I'll totally down with that.
You know what? You can have the 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. hour before
People will come
show.
on and say, I thought I was listening to Money Talks, and these guys are talking about Poison and Warrant.
Well, Mark Hubert's Money Sense is coming up next from 9 to 11, as it does each and every Saturday morning. Dave Haley, NHSportsPage.com. We will have the video cast of the show up on the website tomorrow, so you can watch and relive the magic that just took place over the last couple of hours. Wanted to get into that overtime win last night by Memorial on the road at BG in Nashua. That's a good win for them. They had the loss against Dover last week, lost their cool and the game, had 4 technicals in the game against some Memorial players and Coach Jack Quirk. Strange week for them. They win the holiday tournament. They go out in the regular season. They lose, I think, their first game after the holiday break. All those technicals. Story comes out in the Union Leader with Jim Fennell. I was with Jim Fennell last Friday night at Goffstown, Pembroke, and then me and you were talking during one of the breaks last week during the show, and you mentioned something about using the term athletic, the word athletic to describe a team, and
I'm glad you brought that up.
Somewhat saying that, it kind of has like a little bit of or it could be construed as having a racial connotation. And I just said, look, I think Memorial's very athletic. I mean, the first thing I think of when I look at that team is, man, they're athletic. And then some people, and I think Jack Quirk kind of said that in the paper.
He did.
And I don't know what the exact conversation went, but the quote in the paper was, people refer to us as athletic. They don't refer to us as tough or smart or whatever.
Right. Yep.
But, I mean, when I look at that team, they just look athletic. They jump out of the gym. They run up and down the court. I don't think the color of anybody's skin when I say that.
No. And I completely agree. And anyone who knows me, I don't care if you're green or yellow or black or white. I've been watching basketball my whole life. And the thing, why do we call Memorial athletic? Because they're throwing alley-oops. And in New Hampshire basketball, you don't see a lot of alley-oops. Conant is a tremendous program. They're not throwing alley-oops in Conant. I mean, that's not what you're going to get. So, of course you are. And why do I call Central such a smart team? I don't care what color the skin of the Central kids are. They don't turn it over. They play exactly the style that Doc Wheeler wants them. They grind it down and they execute. That's why you call them a smart team. So I didn't agree with him. I think it's a very broad statement to kind of come out and say, oh, people say this about us. No. They don't always play discipline, that Memorial team. They don't. And I think their point guard, Conte is a smart little player. Yeah, absolutely. They have a reputation of being an undisciplined team. They work very hard. They're basketball players. Certainly, they get a ton of respect from the media. I mean, I know I write about them every week, and that they should be a contender in that. I thought that it was interesting to say that on one occasion at least he felt like the officials were against them.
I disagree with that.
I can only say this. I have a huge network of people that I talk to, as you know, coaches, officials. I talk to officials after the game. I talk to coaches all the time. A guy like Eric Saucier, we were texting during the break. I talked to 60 coaches. I really enjoy it. I have never, ever, ever, ever heard one person make any sort of racial comment about the memorial. Not one. And I wouldn't put up with it if they did. So when I read that, I'm not going to say he's wrong. He's in the mix. I'm not, but it's pretty broad brush to say that.
Let me ask you this question. I've made fun of my trouble pronouncing the names on that Memorial roster over the last couple of years. And anybody who has looked at a roster for Memorial looks at it and says, obviously, these kids ain't from, they're not native New Hampshireans. All right?
Sure.
Maybe some of them were born here. I don't know.
San Diegans.
But
San Diego.
You know what? The names are hard to pronounce. There's a lot of consonants. There's a lot of letters in those names. I mean, Kabongo Nalakalundi, all right? He's got a little brother, Sheaf Nalakalundi. You got Zubel Iridakunda. Those names are difficult to say, especially for a broadcaster. I'm not being racist.
No.
I'm not being,
No.
I mean, yeah, I make fun of it. But a lot of people screw up my name, Terrier. They assume there's an A. It's not the dog's name.
It drives you crazy. You bring that up a lot.
But I mean, yeah. But it's no big deal.
Mike
I don't take it
Fitzpatrick was
personally.
here joking about it. Remember, Fitzy in studio said, "I've learned their first name as a joke." So no, it's not. It certainly isn't.
So, but I'm not killing Jack Quirk here. I just, I don't get it. I thought that there might be a little disconnect because Quirk is an older guy and these kids are young. And they play a lot of AAU ball, and I think he kind of criticized the AAU, and I know a lot of coaches do. And I'm not sure. I don't know enough about AAU.
There are good and bad AAU programs.
Right. I don't know enough about it to really make a definitive statement on it. But I know that high school coaches don't necessarily like the AAU situation because I think it takes away from their power.
Delve into the point of that with Memorial. It was Sudi Lett was expected possibly to get that job. He got passed over. Jack Quirk was involved with that process and kind of gave the job to himself. It had to be
ML
approved.
Carr.
I would love to ask. Yeah, I would love to ask the question of Jack Quirk. Why did you think you were better than Sudi Lett? I'm not saying he's not. I know Jack Quirk has the qualifications to do it. For all I know, he's doing a phenomenal job, and he's the Bobby Knight of New Hampshire high school sports. All I'm saying is that was a weird situation when Sudi Lett got passed over from the get-go, and it hasn't gotten any less strange. And for people like you and I, it's gold, Jerry, gold.
Well,
because there's a lot to talk about.
Let's get Quirk on the show. I think that's our next step. We'll get Quirk on the show. We'll ask him to come on the show. He probably won't want to come on the show now.
Sure he will.
Although I do have a personal connection to him, and I could probably see what I can do to see if I can get him on the show. We got to take a timeout, come back. We'll wrap up the show, kind of look ahead at the schedule. By the way, Memorial is off on Tuesday. Then it's the Fitzy Bowl on Friday night at Bedford Memorial.
How about the week for Fitzy?
Bedford.
Trinity on Tuesday and then Memorial on Friday.
Oh, and a win on a three-pointer that came after the buzzer. What a week for him. Quick timeout, and we'll talk about some of the games coming up on Tuesday night, give you a little preview of the schedule of games that we're interested in, games that I'm sure you're going to be interested in as well. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, WGIR AM 610 and 96.7 The Wave.
I'm glowing right now.
I have no idea what
Iron Maiden.
Oh, I have seen Iron Maiden in concert.
You have or haven't?
Have.
Yep.
Have.
You have lived.
Yes, I have lived. Eddie, right? He's in that big monster dude.
Eddie roams around the stage, man.
I think I remember going to Dave Haley's house one day. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. This is our metal. This is our metal segment. I remember going to your house and you played me this you had the Iron Maiden concert video on or something like that. It might have been before we were going to a show or something like that.
Live
at
in
Hampton
Rio.
Beach Casino.
Yeah.
Just looking at the schedule, Division I here, Bedford Trinity. That game is in Bedford on Tuesday. You got BG at Alvern. BG and Alvern's a good rivalry, always a good game. Interested in seeing what's going on with that. Let's see what Central is doing. I mentioned that Memorial's off on Tuesday. Central plays West, so city battle. That game at Manchester Central, I think you'd expect Central to win that game. Very quietly, Merrimack is 4-2. They play Central in Merrimack on Friday.
Yeah, I can't figure.
I think they've
out.
had a pretty easy schedule. I mean, they lost to Bedford by 20. They lost to Nashua South only by 6. But I think Merrimack's had a pretty easy schedule. Even Tim Goodrich would tell us, you know what, we're certainly not the same team we were last year. But, they're going to be a tough out. They're a hard team to play. I just don't think they're as good as their record indicates. I think Nashua South certainly is. Their record 5-1. Very, very good basketball team. Pinkerton, to me, a little disappointing. You had said earlier you're not quite sure what the problem
They're 1-4.
is with them.
A lot of size, not a lot of guard play, and they don't hit foul shots. And that's huge. You know what? We talk about the best teams all the time in Division I. There's some subpar teams in Division I.
Yeah.
There's 4 or 5 teams that you can beat.
Timberlane for sure. Nashua North this year.
Keene's down there. North's way down, and Keene, is getting better under Dave Sontag, but they're a team that hasn't won a game yet. Salem's not where we thought they were going to be. Ruffin hasn't been playing, and they're not getting enough scoring.
Hey, to me, the game of the night, especially in D1, Winnicott at Spalding on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's a rivalry game.
That's going to be a heck of a game.
And they played in the Christmas tournament, and Winnicott beat them in a fairly close game. I want to say Dominic Parody got in foul trouble in that game. The book on Spalding is if you pressure them full court defensively, they'll turn the ball over a little bit. Half court, they'll kill you, but you can press them, and so obviously that's what Winnicott's going to do, because Winnicott does that to everybody.
So all you Seacoast fans, be sure, if you're looking for a place to watch the Pats game tomorrow, Buffalo Wild Wings in Rochester. I'll be there hosting an event from 4 o'clock until halftime, Patriots playoff viewing party. Dave, we're out of time. Give me a quick score, hopefully Pats Broncos a week from tomorrow.
I'd say 31-21 or 31-17, something like that. They'll win by a couple scores.
Adam Furious, what are you thinking?
34-14.
So you're looking blowout.
He
20
stole
points.
it. He just basically just jumped on my back at what I said.
Nope, absolutely not. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think that the Texans are going to kind of just crawl into a foxhole and not come out of it. They'll get a couple of touchdowns throughout the game. Maybe one in the first half, one in the second half, but that's all they're going to see for action.
I think the Patriots' running game is going to show the Texans, hey, we got a pretty good running game,
They're going to show the Texans how it should be done.
It's going to be like 48 degrees. By the way, did you see in Denver it's going to be a low of 10?
Really?
Yeah. I'm telling you. Am I the only one that thinks the Ravens could win that? Yeah.
I think the Ravens have a chance, but I think it's Denver, and I think it's the Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
Of course.
Please.
Of course.
Please let it be the Patriots. That's all I can say. Hey, we're out of time. Dave Haley, nhsportspage.com. Thanks again. We'll see you on the air next week. John Kesty, Adam Furious, I'm Pete Terrier. Check out the video cast on the website tomorrow. Mark Hebert's Money Sense coming up next.